Hi there! Have you been recently feeling like your art is lacking something? You think there's something wrong with it and you just can't find what it is exactly? Or you've been feeling stuck and can't seem to see any progress in your drawing skills? Then, this video is made just for you. Hi! My name is Majid. I'm a freelance artist with nearly 4 years of experience in the digital art field. If you've never heard of me, here's some of my work. You can find more in my social media. Links are in the description. I'd appreciate if you check them out. So I have come to you with 3 tips that you can easily apply right now, and you will hopefully notice some real progress in a relatively short period of time. So let's not wait any further. And let us begin with tip number 1. Have clear, readable shapes. Shapes are an essential element in any piece of art, since, well, an image is made of shapes. They are the outlines that make different elements of any piece of imagery. Let's take this beautiful painting for example. I took this as it shows clear separation between shapes. We can see that the shadow shape under his chin is but a simple triangle, yet it looks very appealing in the overall piece. Look at the outlines of the fur. This is a very complex subject, yet this artist is able to convey the idea of this being fur using only blocks of shapes. Most importantly, simple blocks of shapes. You can see the outlines are made of mostly C-curves and straight lines. Now, I get that shape design isn't really easy to learn, which completely defies the purpose of this video. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. Instead, what I want you to start doing is start paying more attention to the outlines of the subject you're painting. If it's a human, an animal, a baseball, or whatever it might be, its outline should read as the same object. Now you might ask, how do I do that? Simple. Start sketching by first simplifying the outline of the subject. Avoid all small bumps and holes, just focus on making it look like a simple version of your subject. Now that you've finished your sketch, fill it in black. Zoom out a lot and ask yourself, does this look like what it should look like? If the answer is no, repeat until you start seeing your subject as what it should be, even from a distance. Don't get discouraged, of course, if this doesn't work the first few tries. Eventually, it will be so easy to do, you won't even think about doing it. Now, let's see a better example with this piece that we'll be following along in this video using these tips. Notice how I'm not zooming in for individual parts, like the eyes, nose, but I'm still focusing on making the whole thing look like a face. Remember, don't get caught up on individual parts and details early. It can be really frustrating to zoom out and see that the beautiful eye you've been working on for hours now just doesn't look right in the whole piece. And no amount of photo editing will ever be able to save it. I still zoom in a little though, but as you can see, I have the preview window open and I always use it to check how the big picture is looking. That is very important, especially if you want to post on social media. That is because when people see your post, it's on a phone. They usually are very small. All your awesome details won't be visible unless they click on it, which they won't if it doesn't appeal to them at first glance. Now that we've finished our initial sketch, the silhouette shape is looking fine. We can jump now into tip number 2. Check your values. Values are simply how dark or bright a subject is relative to its surrounding. But let's leave the complicated details for a later time. Our focus today is going to be how to easily have good values in your painting while also sticking to it through the process. A lot of people, especially beginners, tend to either completely ignore their values, or even if they don't and actually start painting with good values, they tend to lose them along the process, which obviously will ruin your piece. So how do we avoid that? I'm glad you're asking. First, let's start by deciding what should be the value of our big shapes. Here we have 2, the character shape and the background shape. In this case, I want a white simple background. So in order to contrast that, my character should have a darker value to improve clarity and readability. That's our first and main goal. So let's reduce our value range for now to only mid and dark tones. Another mistake I see a lot of beginners do is that they use the full range of values for the whole subject, and this just makes your piece boring and confusing to look at. So what we want to do is to make sure we use different value ranges for different parts. As shown in here, you can see that the darkest values of the skin are even lighter than the lightest values of his clothing. That is because the skin itself is very bright compared to what he is wearing. So try to avoid having near black shadows everywhere. If you're like me and you like to start painting in colors instead, then you can just do this. Create a new layer on top of everything. Fill it in black, set the blending mode to color. And there you have it, a quick and efficient way to check your values while you're painting. Now that we're done with that, let's hear our third and final tip, ambient occlusion. This should be the easiest of them all, since ambient occlusion is but the darkest shadows on your painting that we can find in the areas that are less exposed to the light, such as, in this example, under the neck, behind the fingers, since this hand is nearly closed, and some of the lower layers of the hair. I see a lot of beginner artists ignore this principle, which leads to the pieces feeling flat and lacking in volume. An easy way to add ambient occlusion is to first make sure to pick a color that is the darkest shadow, but don't go all the way to black. It'll just look dirty and unappealing. Second, start analyzing your drawing, looking for any parts that have no direct contact with the light, just like we did earlier. And third, make sure not to overdo it. Yes, adding it can save your piece, but adding too much will also ruin it. Alright, this is looking pretty solid. I'm just gonna go ahead and make this look finished, then I'll get back to you later. Enjoy the final result. And that's it. 3 tips that you can now easily apply to your drawing process that should give you greater results, hopefully. If you find this video helpful, remember to hit that like button. Consider subscribing, it really helps the channel. Hit the bell so you won't miss any future content. And with that said, stay safe, have a good day, and see you on the next one.